crypto scams. According to the Motley Fool, scams related to cryptocurrency and investing are in more common and making more money than ever before. 2020 was a record year for investment and cryptocurrency scams. Almost 26,500 cases were reported to the government, resulting in a loss of $419 million. And 2021 is on pace to exceed those numbers. It must all be Bitcoin's fault. Dan, Eve, why are there so many scams in Bitcoins and altcoins and ICOs and brand new cryptocurrencies? Is it Bitcoin's fault?
It's always Bitcoin's fault to a no coiner. But I think one thing that they don't do when they make these when they put these numbers down is compare to say how many or like at least the estimate of how many like how much utilization is going up, how many more people are using it, how much more, because the amount of infrastructure in 2021 compared to 2020 and the amount of services, the amount of things that you could use your Bitcoin for, there's a lot more. So you're probably going to have, if you have more of something floating around, you're going to have more of the crime that goes along with it, especially if it's a new technology. I read one earlier about a guy in Malta who this is an investment scam, but he handed his phone to make someone to make a transaction. It was meant to be a small transaction, and he was like gobsmacked when the person just like swiped 700k and was just like, yeah, screw you. So unfortunately, you've definitely got to watch out for that. If you've got a load of crypto that you're just Bitcoin stored on your phone or whatever, don't let someone else have your phone. But even NatWest now, I've seen an advert, or not an advert.
Oh, we seem to have lost Dan. I know back
so
in
they're kind of,
there he is. Go ahead, Dan.
Oh, sorry, carry on.
Oh, well, I know back in the day, they used to hand out a ledger at the San Francisco Bitcoin meetup, and they would braggingly say there's $1 million on this hardware wallet, and they'd pass it around the room. And nowadays, I imagine someone palm it and sleight of hand and then break it down physically and get inside there, because everyone knows you don't let anyone take your hardware wallet out of the room if you want to keep your money. Let's go to.
Sorry. I was also going to say about that. Not just 2021 has been a year of, and 2020, has been a year of the scams increasing as they do naturally with usage and adoption. But if you think about again, comparing it to other scams and other fraud, and say we've been in lockdown, like the number of delivery scams and tax scams, like they're just every 5 minutes. So I'd like to see the numbers on that, and you'd probably find that the amount of like delivery scams has risen way more exponentially compared to actual Bitcoin scams, and that's purely because of the scenario, the environment we're in now, where everyone's using deliveries more, therefore everyone's going to get scammed more on deliveries.
If you stare at QVC long enough, you'll eventually buy some cubic zirconium jewelry. But I've been buying mainly stuff on Amazon, but that's my own fault. Let's go to Ben Ark. Your thoughts on crypto scams?
They're out there. People have to adjust to being digitally native, where there isn't all these protections that you had, societally in the past. You're now in the Wild West, and it's a lot easier to get scammed. It's sad because the people who really suffer, and when there's these sort of waves of scams coming through, are they're the people you don't want to suffer, aren't they? They're the ill-informed. Usually the people who can't afford to lose their money, they're losing, and that sucks. But yeah, I mean, it's a very arbitrary number, so I have no idea how these numbers are calculated, because one person's scam is another person's gold mine, isn't it? They manage to pump their bags and sell it to somebody else. But I suppose if they're talking about sort of direct invest in this, cryptocurrency thing, or this is the next big cryptocurrency, send me your money, or send me your Bitcoin keys and I'll send you blah blah blah, then yeah, it's very sad. And it's just we just have to do more of a job to educate people on being very skeptical about anything which offers free and easy money. And then very sadly, in this world of Bitcoin and some of these altcoins, that has been, some people have achieved that. They've invested a very small amount of money and then they've achieved huge wealth. So they can use that as a historical reference and say, well, if you invest in this thing, then you could also achieve this huge wealth. And then desperate people invest in it and they lose their money. So it's very sad, but we just need to do more of a job as as people who've been around for a while, to just try and educate people as much as possible of these scams. And then ultimately people are just going to have to learn, like, this is the responsibility of being digitally native. Like, you need to just treat everything with a little bit of skepticism. And that just doesn't just apply to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, whatever, and all these crypto scams. It also applies to just differentiating between good and bad data, which a lot of people are struggling with, and that's why we see this rise of conspiracy theories and so on. But people will get better. It's just we've suddenly got this new data point where we can get a lot of information, and we just need to be able to differentiate between the bullshit and the good stuff. Human brains are very capable of doing this, but it will just take a little bit of time for people to learn how to exist in this new digital environment.
It is interesting to have this kind of compromised position, like Ben was saying, where you're like, all the new crazy scammy stuff is a scam, but the Bitcoin is okay. And all the new scammy stuff makes you lots of money. And the Bitcoin also makes you lots of money, but the Bitcoin's okay and the scammy stuff's not, even though lots of people made money on the scammy stuff, but lots of other people lost money. So it's a very tough position to be in. Yeah.
It's like when someone asks you about Bitcoin, then you try and explain Bitcoin, and then in the back of your head, you're thinking, I just sound like someone selling a Ponzi. I just sound like someone scamming, just scamming somebody. And you have to stop yourself. It just sounds like you're pitching some sort of scam. When you say to them, look, buy, 10 grand's worth of Bitcoin and then hold it for 5 years, you'll probably be able to retire off that. I mean, that's a very scammy thing to say to somebody, but within Bitcoins, it's been true. And the technology's there, and the infrastructure and all the geniuses behind it are there. But it makes it so easy for these other, well, not projects, for other, what would you call them? Just these vultures to fly in and just to take advantage of that and try and hoodwink people into giving them money.
I also want to forgive everyone, because it seems like it would be real easy to convince your family and friends to get into Bitcoin, even especially if you have knowledge about it. You've read a bunch of books about it, you're really into Bitcoin. You're like, got to get in, you got to get in. But like Ben says, invest 10K and retire sounds really scammy. And if you scroll back through my messages, I probably said that to my whole family and no one listened to me. So it's interesting to see how even with the best of intentions and the best of knowledge, you still sound like a dirty scammer.